Welcome back to Explored. This month we're going to be looking at the hands. So we're going to be looking at the fingers and the wrists in particular. We're going to have a look at placement on the hands when we're on all four or weight bearing position, and then I'm going to go through a few exercises that you can do at home anywhere in order to build strength in both the fingers, the hands and also the wrists. Firstly, we're going to look at misalignment when we're in weight bearing positions. So think about all those all four positions that we come into as well as down dog. Now we could cover hand positions in a lot of other poses, so like Sphinx and stuff like that, but I'm mainly interested today on the ones of where we're bearing a lot of weight through our hands. Firstly, you want to make sure that you're spreading your fingers nice and wide. The reason for this is we're evenly distributing the weight through a larger area, but also spreading the fingers actually helps the fingertips grip slightly more. Now you want your index finger to be pointing towards the top of the mat or near enough, depending on your own shoulder movement or range that you have there. One thing that I see a lot in all four positions and down dogs is when people are pressing weight through their hands, they allow that L shape of their hand, so your index finger and thumb, to start peeling off the floor. When you're pressing weight through, this has a knock-on effect, so it kind of knocks the elbows out of alignment and then rolls the shoulders down, so it's really hard to get that chain nice and fired up. So you want to press this section of your hand firmly down into the ground, press the fingertips down. Now you can lift your knuckles off the floor, you just want to make sure that these main four knuckles here are flat to the floor. These ones can come off the floor, that's not a problem. That's actually going to help you if you lift those knuckles off the floor to grip more down into the ground. One final thing that I'm going to say on this as well is when we're telling you to press your weight down through the hands, a lot of people think that we're thinking about pushing the weight forward. Now that's instantly going to make you start sliding. So you want to try and drive the weight firmly down, so pressing it through the hands, and then that's going to give you a nice strong base. Now a good exercise that you can do that helps build up strength in the tendons, ligaments, muscles of the hands, but also gains a little bit more movement, is to come into your finger taps. So you're going to come into that position that I mentioned earlier. So you're spreading the fingers, pressing the L-shaped part of the hand down on the ground. Now this can be done on the floor, on the table, any flat surface. And what we're going to do is literally just pick up the little fingers, lift them as high as you can without the rest of the hand compensating. So if you've noticed that the underneath of the hand is started to peel off, place it back down, just work on lifting the shoulders. Little fingers. Place the little fingers down, and then we'll take it onto the ring finger. Place it down, middle finger, and you're just going to work all the way up to the thumb, and then you're going to work backwards. Really just try and lift off that finger that you're trying to move and not allow the other parts of the hand to try and help with that. Now I go on about cars, circular articular rotations, quite a lot, and funny enough you can actually do these with your fingers as well because your fingers contain joints. So same position, and all you're going to do here is you're going to pick up one finger, draw a tiny circle a few times one way, and then switch. Place it down, press the other fingers down, lift the next finger up, slowly draw a few circles, nice and controlled. Try and keep the size of the circle the same each rotation, plant it down. And again, it doesn't matter how high you can lift that finger, just work with the range of motion that you've got, trying to keep the rest of the fingertips down. And it feels really weird, but another good thing about this is it gets that brain connection with your body parts again. So again, we're firing up the chain, letting your fingers know and your brain know, your nervous system, that you can do this movement. And it's just a really good way of building strong, healthy joints in the hands. So we're now going to go into extension to stretch through the wrists and the forearms. So from an all four position, you're just going to turn your fingertips round, so think to like 6 o'clock. Now again, this all depends on your range of motion, so if you can only turn your hands round to about here, that's fine. Just turn your wrists round as far as you can. Make sure that the pads of the hands are down on the ground, spreading the fingers, and we're just going to hold it here. Now you want to drive the weight through the fingertips, drive the pads of your hands down towards the floor. If you want to increase the stretch, what you can do is maybe lean a little bit further back towards your heels of the feet if you're on an all fours position, but try not to allow the hands to peel off the floor. Another thing that you can do is maybe walk the knees a little bit further. That just helps drive a little bit more weight through. And you're going to hold it here for a couple of breaths, pressing the weight down through the pads of the hands for maybe like 30 seconds. And then you're going to get the sensation that you're trying to pull your fingers off the floor. Now they're not going to lift, but just switch it. Try and pull the fingers up. Couple of breaths, nice steady inhales here, and then repress the whole hands down to the ground. You might find that you get a little bit more movement. You can sit a little bit further back. Do a couple of rounds, and then afterwards, or maybe in between, you're just going to bring your hands round and just going to pump the fingers in and out. Maybe roll the wrists a few times. But that's a really good one of just working through any tension that you might have in your forearm and working into the wrists. Next, we're going to look at wrist cars. So this is a really good one of just isolating the wrist, making sure that we're working just that joint itself. So remember, the shoulder should be able to move separately to the elbow, and the elbow should be moving separately to the wrist. Sometimes that line can get a little bit blocked and the whole arm can only really move as one. That's quite an exaggeration of that, but sometimes the elbow likes to do a lot of the movements of the wrist, which then can make the movements very unstable. So this is a really good one to power-proof those wrists, making them super, super strong. To start with, you're going to hug that elbow in towards your side, so you're bracing it in, and you're making a 90-degree angle with your arm. So your elbow is in line with the shoulder, your wrist is in line with the elbow. Now you can do this standing or seating, it doesn't really matter, just make sure you've got that form correct. Your other hand is going to grab hold of this wrist, so it's going to help block the rest of the arm so we just can work through the wrist. And you can hug that elbow into the body, really brace them in, that will help with the movement. So I'm going to give you two options that you can do this one. First one with your palm open, you're going to spread the fingers. Look at the wrist, so this does help. When you look at the body part that you're trying to move, sometimes it helps fire up that brain-body connection. You're going to point your fingers up, rotate them round to one side to your max range that you can take it into. Slowly draw the fingertips down, open through the palm, and then slowly bring the hand all the other way. And you're going to do 3 to 5 rotations round. I want you to be really honest with yourself here. Make sure you're just working through that wrist. So if you notice when you take the hand out that your forearm starts opening round as well, that means you're working through the elbow. If you notice that happens, I want you to reset yourself. Maybe think about doing a smaller circle and just really try and isolate that wrist. Now, if you don't know if you're actually moving your forearm or not, what you can do is get a pen. Please make sure that it's one that you can wash off easily, and just mark a cross. And if you notice that that cross is moving, that means that you're moving your elbow, not the wrist. If you're finding it difficult to do this movement with your fingers open, then make a fist. Really clench your fingers together. Same thing. You're going to draw the knuckles up, take the thumbs out, slowly take the knuckles round down to the ground, bring them all the way back in, and then come back to the top. Key things here, have that 90-degree angle, brace the arms into the sides of the body, and be really honest with yourself that you're just moving that wrist. So I hope you found that really helpful, and these are exercises that you can do anywhere. Maybe you're waiting for the kettle to boil, you're going to do a few wrist cars there. Just make sure that you balance them out. However many you do on the right hand side, you make sure you do on the left hand side. Have a little bit of fun with it, maybe even record it. Take a few videos and then do again in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and you will be able to see some progress. Sometimes when we don't have that physical evidence, it's hard to look back and see what progress we've made. So maybe get in the habit of videoing yourself when you do some of these so you can physically see how well you're doing. Anyway, I hope your hands and wrists are feeling a little bit more freer and a little bit stronger after that, and I'll see you next time on Explored.